Well, I think what's really happening is this is a land rush from the Texans and the Oklahomans to buy up as much land and lease as much land as possible to get drilling rights, to drill as quickly as possible until the people of Pennsylvania don't find out what's really happening. My name is Dr. Conrad Volz, and I am the director of the Center for Healthy Environments and Communities at the Graduate School of Public Health at the University of Pittsburgh. Well, we have a number of situations. Now, my testimony to the United States Senate outlines three specific problems with Marcellus Shale. The first problem that we've studied is the siting of these wells. That right now the siting of them is largely unregulated, and they can be sited next to a school or a hospital, a daycare center, a sewage treatment plant, etc. We know that there is a 2 in 1,000 probability that these wells will either have a catastrophic blowout or a fire or an explosion. So siting these facilities near people's homes just doesn't make sense, especially in a climate where we're spending tens of millions of dollars in the United States to protect citizens from explosions from terrorists. The second big problem is that we have also studied the types of violations that these Marcellus wells have. They have between 1.5 to 4 times the rate of violations of conventional wells, of the old style wells. And the types of violations that they have are more serious, and they are more of the type that will cause water pollution problems, meaning things like lack of erosion controls on the sites, lack of preparedness for rain events that might lead to erosion, failure to contain hazardous waste and toxic water on a site. Failure of the impoundments to be properly constructed so that they might leak or they might overflow with a result that the wastewater goes into the environment. And lastly, failure in some cases even to have proper controls on the wells themselves, whereby water is generated that goes into the waters of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And the last really very important problem that we have worked on and that I testified in the Senate is the issue of wastewater. The wastewater that's generated from these Marcellus wells is highly toxic. It's very much enhanced in compounds and elements such as barium and strontium, also radium, radionuclides, certain kinds of organic compounds like benzene and toluene, a glycol ether called 2-butoxyethanol. When you take this wastewater and dispose of it through sewage treatment plants or through inefficient brine treatment plants that release back into water, essentially you are putting toxic substances into our drinking water. And we have shown that essentially this practice is leading to enhancements of 9 pollutants into streams that we have sampled. One of the things that's occurring that's a very great problem right now is that this wastewater that's being generated only in Pennsylvania is now being sent for disposal not only in Pennsylvania, but in New York, New Jersey, Maryland, West Virginia, and Ohio. And there's more wastewater being generated in these states that we know is being taken yet to other states. So it is a problem, essentially, where toxic substances are being generated and they're being sent around the country for disposal in other people's surface water. If this was an infectious disease, something like a gastrointestinal disease caused by eating some bad food, we would isolate the food, make sure that it wouldn't be sold to people, and it would be prohibited from being sent around the country to other states. Why is this practice not being done the same way with an environmental contaminant? If you're going to tap a pocket of methane 50 years ago, you just put a pipe down into it and it flowed out. And yes, that natural gas is much cleaner than burning coal. But when you have to go a mile underground and you're using chemicals to get that, the chemicals have to be made by using energy. You're burning coal, you're using electric to make these chemicals. You are essentially generating generating wastes in the process of that. You are actually even using oil and gas feedstocks to make many of those chemicals. And then you're bringing those chemicals and water to a site using diesel fuel. And then you're trucking that water away to dispose of it using diesel fuel. We know that the inputs into that process make it dirtier than getting out that natural gas by conventional means. That's clear. How much dirtier is only where the science needs to go now. Is it as dirty as coal? I don't know. But it's certainly not clean energy like conventional methane gas extraction is.
Have much to gain from the development of Marcellus shale. Beyond the obvious economic advantages, using natural gas provides significant environmental benefits. Natural gas is by far America's cleanest fossil fuel.
This is what I consider my piece of Marcellus hell. I don't use the word shale, I use hell.